Welcome, veterans, claims, ambush. We left off with the small print in video number 3. The introduction to how a claim is supposed to be considered and then filed. And what you saw was a lot of small print. Page upon page upon page. 8 pages of it. And there were very brief references to things like the rating schedule. Okay. You think that somehow they look at you as an entire person. And I've explained that you can have a difficulty that puts you in a wheelchair. Service-connected. But you may be completely employable, like Stephen Hawking's. Now, that's a great example, but it's unique. And then on page 8, the small print, they told you that there is this thing called a rating schedule. And you may recall I showed you they left it out. They didn't put it in there. And it said, we consider evidence of the following in determining disability rating. You what? Who are you? Who are you people? A person comes into work at a VA regional office. They're going to do 5 claims today. They're going to work on 5. One's going to be TBI, traumatic brain injury. One is going to be for bad knees. One is going to be for a spinal injury. One is going to be for painful scarring from burns. And another one is going to be from ionizing radiation. Is there, to your knowledge, any medical doctor you've ever heard of who is a specialist in all 5 of those areas? When you file your claim, you're going to say, I have the following illness, injury, and you are going to use Google. I've told you you must use Google for certain things. You will use Google in order to find peer-reviewed articles, medical journal articles, written by medical specialists, published in public journal articles. So, if you had the traumatic brain injury, you might have a journal of neurology, or it could be the Journal of the American Medical Association, JAMA, or it could be Lancet, LANCET, which is the top of the literary pile over in the UK. It could be an article from Harvard Medical School, a research section in neurology. It could be from Georgetown University. It could be from Yale Medical School or Dartmouth Medical School. Could be from Stanford Medical School. If you look up traumatic brain injury, you will find probably 1,000 peer-reviewed articles. Specialists. They will be considering the chemistry of the brain, the biology of cells in the brain, the electrical neuron transmitters, how information goes in and around the different parts of the brain. They will be experts in the nerves within the brain, the so-called cranial nerves. These articles represent the primo, top of the mountain. They are peer-reviewed out in the public. If they are at fault, it will be discovered. These articles are often then published on the National Institute of Health, NIH. You heard of them because of COVID. They were publishing various forms of research. NIH will take these articles and put them out to the world, citing where they came from. So if it's the Journal of Neurology, right, or the Journal of Neurosurgery, they will cite that. What makes you think somebody working for Victor Bravo Alpha can even understand those articles? Now, it's one thing for you. You have time, and you can seek assistance to read these articles and figure them out. What makes you think that the person who is deciding your claim can read and understand the chemistry, physics, right? The mathematical, statistical studies, the biology that is contained within these articles? One of my hobbies is the interesting study of quantum mechanics. It's fun. Some people study chess. A lot of it is mathematics. A lot of it is out there kind of electronics. How particles of the atom either exist or don't exist in real time, etc. I read some of these medical articles. They are not foreign in their language, but it takes a great deal of study to understand them. But wait a minute, next, during the day, the same person will be working at VBA on burns and how that affects nerves and how that causes pain. And the same complexity of articles are available on Google. The person filing that claim may have presented those articles as proofs, Proofs, as evidence. Do you see where this is going? How can a person working at VBA possibly, comprehensively decide anything to do with the substance of these different scientific claims? All that small print we started to examine in number 3 in great detail, and in number 2, comes down to this form. The VA, as I indicated in the first video, is subject to the law of Title 38 U.S. Code. That is the law passed by Congress. And then VA, as any other federal agency, will interpret that law and publish to the world on the Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, what they think at VA it means and how they're going to operationally execute the law. You might, in your spare time, I'll get to it in detail later, take a look at 38 CFR section 4.1, and read down through that. There is a schedule that is set up. If this, then that. If that, then this. And it tries to give the VBA employee who cannot understand the chemistry, biology, physics, and the statistical profiles of disease, it tries to give them something to hide behind. Meaning, they can say, oh, well, if the TBI was examined and there was a blood clot, then this. If da-da-da-da-da-da, then that. That's not what they said. What they said was, examples of evidence, right? Information about ongoing treatment records, Social Security determinations. Oh, so they're entitled to rely on Social Security. And as I said to you earlier, why is there a VBA? Statements from employers as to job performance, lost time, or statements discussing your disability symptoms from people who have witnessed how the symptoms affect you. See what they consider? How about nature and symptoms of this condition, severity and duration, impact of the condition and symptoms on employment? So they're not going to consider specialty medical articles from all the medical schools I mentioned, from NIH, which is U.S. government. The walls are closing in. The blinders on the side of a horse's head are meant to tell the horse, don't worry about your peripheral vision. Just look ahead. Now, some horses have a great deal of difficulty accepting these blinders, but over time they can get used to it. Over time, they can get used to it. Let's consider something again. So I have a person who works at VBA. They need this job. They go to work. What is the organization telling them? In hiring them, the organization is saying, you are not a scientist. You are not a medical doctor. You haven't got a great deal of education in biology, chemistry, physics, or in statistical modeling. You're hired to look at claims. Put these blinders on. There is a library, an unofficial library, at VBA of every illness, injury imaginable because of prior claims. You couldn't think of a new illness or injury that hasn't been filed before. It's all there. But you will have to reinvent the wheel, and they will act as though that library of knowledge from other cases does not exist, because they are going to, listen carefully, adjudicate the claim. And they will wear blinders. You see, you can go and you can look up peer-reviewed medical articles about your injury or illness, disease. You sit down at a computer, maybe in a library if you don't have one at home. So can they. Get it? You can do it. They have computers. They work in a digital office. You can look these things up. They can look these things up. You can look it up and study it and ask people to help you understand the mathematics, chemistry, biology, physics. And even still, you may not understand it. But you have time that you can do this. They go to work. They walk in the door. Boom. The conveyor belt is coming by. Productivity, the bonus is going to be measured by piecework. Just like a factory in China putting together Apple phones. Not only haven't they got the expertise to understand this type of peer-reviewed proof, they haven't got time. Could they use Google to do it? Not allowed. You have to carry the entire load. Now, what kind of attitude is that? What kind of attitude is that? Okay, we'll get ready for the next one. Subscribe. These are cumulative. You're learning things about how to think, about how to think and how to understand your litigation opponent. You are in litigation. This is the ambush.